Welcome, Medical Wildcats. I'm Joseph Gugenheim. I'm a 1972 alum of the medical school. And today, with the help of Dan from Alumni Relations, we'll be giving a presentation on Lakeshore Drive, which has been called the most beautiful road in the United States. It has its own radio station, 97.1 FM, The Drive. It's been seen in many movies, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, When Harry Met Sally, National Lampoon's Vacation, The Blues Brothers, among others. Next. It also has its own song. This was recorded by the trio Aliata, Haynes, Jeremiah during the 70s. This trio got their start in Chicago. The song appeared in the movie Guardian of the Galaxies, Volume 2 in 2017. It's got a terrific video on YouTube. I'd highly recommend you take a look at it. Next. Lakeshore Drive has been built in segments. The first segment was built in the Lincoln Park area. Lincoln Park was originally a burial site from 1837, when Chicago received its charter, until 1866, when the city ordered the bodies to be exhumed because it was thought that they were a contamination for the city's water supply. This site was renamed Lincoln Park in honor of the recently assassinated president. Lakefront Drive was built from Wisconsin Street, 1900 North, to Diversey, which was 2800 North the same year in 1865. The next segment built was Oak Street to North Avenue, Oak Street 1000 North to North Avenue 1600 North during the 1880s. And this section was named Lakeshore Drive. Next. The residential area of Lakeshore Drive began with the Palmers, Potter and Bertha Palmer. Potter was in the retail goods business. He started a store, Field Palmer Lighter, that eventually became Marshall Field. He was also in the hotel business, building the Palmer House, which was burned by the fire in 1871, but rebuilt, and there's still a Palmer House in the Loop area, which is now a Hilton Hotel. In 1882, the Palmers coerced several of their wealthy neighbors who lived in the south area of Chicago in the Prairie Street district to move to Lakeshore Drive. Potter was making a profit off of this because he was now in the real estate business. Next. This is a picture of his house, or often called his castle, built at 1350 North Lakeshore Drive. It's an unusual building because it had no doorknobs or locks on the outside. And the only way to gain access was for somebody on the inside to open the door from the inside to let you in. It looks to me like something that should be on the bottom of a goldfish bowl. It was demolished in the 50s to build a high-rise. Next. Originally, the Lakeshore Drive area was intended to be a site for leisurely strolls by the wealthy in their carriages or just walking. In the early 1900s, a landfill made Lakeshore Drive farther from the lake. And you can see that in this picture where the road is farther from the lake. Wealthy property owners financed a seawall and landfill south of Oak Street. Next. Lakeshore Drive has always been considered a status symbol address. And there's many buildings that were built where they have an entrance on the side, but they have a Lakeshore Drive address. The top picture here is the mansion of Edith Rockefeller McCormick and Harold McCormick, a marriage of two of the wealthiest families in the United States in the late 19th century, at 1000 North Lakeshore Drive. The entrance in the middle of the building is actually on Bellevue, and the left side of the building is what faces Lakeshore Drive. The lower picture is a luxury apartment building still standing at 1200 North Lakeshore Drive, and you can see the entrance covered by an awning on the left, whereas Lakeshore Drive is on the right. Next. This became a popular area for wealthy people to build homes or live in apartments, and it became known as the Gold Coast. from Oak Street, 1000 North, North Avenue, 1600 North. This is a picture made from the Drake Hotel in the early 20th century. Next. Many of Chicago's wealthiest families built homes along Lakeshore Drive, including Robert Todd Lincoln, who was the son of the former president and also a Secretary of War, Edith Rockefeller McCormick and Harold McCormick, who built the home you previously saw at 1000 North Lakeshore Drive, Albert Dick, who was in the office equipment business, William Wrigley Jr. In the chewing gum business, and Alexander McClurg, who was a book publisher. The street on the south side of the medical center is McClurg Court, named after Mr. McClurg. He was a publisher who introduced American readers to the character Tarzan. Next. There are 7 homes still standing in their original construction on the along Lakeshore Drive. 4 in the 1200 block and 3 in the 1500 block. 1234 was Robert Todd Lincoln's home, but that's been demolished to build a high-rise building. 1250 was built in 1890 for real estate tycoon and German immigrant Charles Hyson. 1254 was built in 1889 for a railroad executive and attorney, Mason Starring. These 2 buildings were purchased by Art Frigo, who was in the mop and broom business, decided he'd get into the real estate business. He bought these 2 buildings and converted them to condos, and there were 4 units in these 2 buildings combined. 1258 was built in 1892 for real estate executive Arthur Aldous, and 1260 was built in the 20th century, 1911, for Lawrence Rockwell. You can see the entrance on the side with the awning over it just above the taxi on Lakeshore Drive, but there is no actual entrance on the drive itself. This building recently sold for about $5.2 million. Next. And there are 3 buildings that still survive in the 1500 block, also protected by the state of Illinois. 1516 was built in 1914 for Edward T. Blair, hardware executive who married into the McCormick family. 1530 was built in 1916. It is now the Polish consulate and was built for Bernard Eckhart, who was director of the Chicago Board of Trade. Next. Between these 2 buildings is 1524, which became a museum for the International College of Surgeons. It was built in 1917, and it's called the Eleanor Contis House because it was built for Ms. Contis when she got married. Mr. Contis was president of the Chicago Stock Exchange. This building is built after the design of the Palace at Versailles. The Palace at Versailles is only 3 stories. This Contis home is 4 stories. Next. There's a bridge that crosses the Chicago River south of the Feinberg campus, and this has been called the Outer Drive Bridge or also the Link Bridge. It was opened in 1937 to coincide with the centennial of Chicago's charter of 1837. President Roosevelt was present for the opening ceremonies. It linked the southern part of Lakeshore Drive with the northern part. It was designed to ease the congestion on the Michigan Avenue Bridge, which was opened in 1920. The Michigan Avenue Bridge was built to alleviate traffic on the Rush Street Bridge. Next. But the designers of this bridge did not foresee traffic being rapid. Previously, cars didn't travel quite so fast. The S curve was nicknamed the Z curve. You can see the sharp angles as it crossed the river, and it became a traffic disaster. Next. It was redesigned, reconfigured by John LaPlante, who designed the solution while he was still a graduate student at Northwestern. The construction took several years, begun in 1982 and finally completed in 1986. You can see in this aerial photograph how he smoothed out the sharp turns of the Z. Next. The northern segment was completed in, the northern section was completed in segments over many years. In 1941, the segment from North Avenue, 1600 North to Belmont, 3200 North was completed. 1933, the section from Belmont to Foster was completed. And this was thought to be the first time there were cloverleaf intersections in the United States. You can see at the red arrow is the Edgewater Hotel. And just to the right of that, the Edgewater Hotel has its private beach. The Edgewater Hotel is at 5300 North. The end of the Lakeshore Drive was 5200 North. So it finished just south of the hotel, allowing the hotel to have its own private beach. Next. In the 1950s, the road was extended to 5600 North on a landfill. The landfill was built on rubble from this construction of the Eisenhower Expressway. And you can see in the picture on the left, the dark gray exit to the Lakeshore Drive is to 5600 North, and then the lighter area is 5700 North, built on the landfill at the red arrow. On the picture on the right, you can see the final segment going to Hollywood Avenue, 5700 North, at the purple arrow. At the very bottom of this picture on the right, you see the Edgewater Hotel. And on the far right of that picture, you see the remains of the beach of the Edgewater Hotel, now cut off from the hotel. With no access to the beach, the hotel met its demise and was finally demolished. Next. Reversible lanes were one of the innovations on Lakeshore Drive. This was originally designed in the mid-40s to allow rush hour traffic to be expedited so that the heavy traffic would have 6 lanes and the lighter traffic would have only 2 lanes. This is due to some barriers which would rise at rush hour. You can see these are down in this picture. They're now flush with the road. This is a picture taken from the bridge over the Lakeshore Drive at Lincoln Park at evening rush hour, and you can see 6 lanes going north and only 2 going south. This actually may have contributed to accidents, so the barriers were removed in 1979. Next. The southern section of Lakeshore Drive was also built in segments. It was called Leif Erikson Drive for many years in honor of Leif Erikson, whose statue is in Humboldt Park. The entire section was finally named Lakeshore Drive in 1946. The idea of a boulevard from Jackson Park all the way to Evanston was advocated in Daniel Burnham's 1909 plan. He advocated a boulevard for a relaxing scenic drive. Montgomery Ward was responsible for keeping the lakeshore, the lakefront free of commercial structures, allowing us to have recreational areas from the south side all the way to 5700 North. Next. The southern segment was reconfigured in 1996. Previously, the traffic had split at Soldier Field, with the northbound traffic going on the east side of Soldier Field and the Field Museum, and the southbound going on the west side. You can see in this picture of the old configuration, in the upper part of the photograph is Meigs Field Airport, which has now been demolished also. Now all traffic goes on the west side of Soldier Field and the museum. Next. There have been many problems with Lakeshore Drive. For one thing, it has very heavy use by vehicles, probably not anticipated when it was built. It is now used by 161,000 cars a day and 3,300 buses. It is estimated that 31,000 Chicagoans use the lakefront trail at Oak Street during nice weather. Lake Michigan is rising rapidly, attributed to climate change. This is damaging the road, the infrastructure, and also the surrounding neighborhood on the opposite side of the road. Next. So putting up barriers, as seen in that last picture, is probably not the solution. So what does the future hold for Lakeshore Drive? Well, there have been several proposals. One is to eliminate the drive completely and turn it into one long green park. Another is to close it to private vehicles, using it only for buses. This may seem radical, but it is estimated that most of the people that live close to Lakeshore Drive also live close to public transportation. Another proposal is to smooth out the S-curve at Oak Street Beach by expanding the beach area with some green area, as shown in this picture. There's been another proposal similar to this one, eliminating the vehicular traffic by routing it through tunnels underneath the green space. Permeable pavement has been proposed to cut down some of the damage to the road and to the structures on the opposite side. Another one is to use landfill to add more parkland. But the problem with this is that it's only temporary, and the landfill has to be replaced periodically as the waves from the lake erode it. Next. There have been several other proposals. For years, there's been a proposal to extend Lakeshore Drive all the way to Evanston, but the citizens, the residents of Evanston and Rogers Park have objected to this because they fear they will lose access to the lake. Another is to build a series of man-made islands with the road on top of the islands. This would be very expensive and would not be very aesthetic. Another one is to make it into an interstate highway. Another one, which is probably the easiest to do, is to rename it in honor of Chicago's first permanent settler, DeSaab, who was a black man from Haiti. The problem with this is that the name Lakeshore Drive is stuck for so many years that it would be hard for people to get accustomed to another name. Next. We should remember John LaPlante, who was a Northwestern alum, traffic engineer for the city of Chicago, who, among other things, smoothed out the Z curve at the Chicago River. He contracted coronavirus on an expedition to Egypt. He was one of the first Americans to die of the coronavirus. He was a traffic engineer, an advocate for safe bicycling, and a lover of folk music. Next. Well, let's get together again next month virtually. Dan and I have a special holiday presentation for you to celebrate the season. In the meantime, stay safe, stay connected, and I look forward to getting together again next month. Thank you.